Oh yeah, actually, I do it for free. Like I don't take any tips. It's just an opportunity, kind of just like I haven't done a single guest bartending shift where I didn't learn something.
Nice.
So it's kind of an opportunity. Like maybe they'll learn a little something from me, and then I'll learn something from them, and it's like it's a win-win for everyone.
So you're coming into a new bar, and that's so not being a true bartender myself, I can fake it. But do you try to learn some of their drinks? Do you do your own drinks? How do you go about kind of that guest shift?
Yeah, generally with the guest bartender, they'll put together like a menu of maybe like 3 to 5 drinks, and then they'll kind of. I'm a big proponent of it because I think it's just a good way to get everybody excited, especially if the bartender's from out of town.
So like gin and tonic, rum and coke.
Yeah, we do a whole series. Yeah, at Polite Provisions, kind of around it. Also at Boilermaker, New York. It's a good way to get people excited and kind of like learn new techniques from everybody.
Nice. What are your thoughts on guest shift? Have you ridden out a guest shift, Jason?
Well, we've done a few. Not a singular guest shift, but we've done like some takeovers, like some team takeovers.
Violet Hour,
awesome,
you had them come in, yeah.
So we've taken the Sugar House staff. We've done Violet Hour, we've done Porco. We'd certainly look to do more of those in the future. I think we're going to do another Porco one with Mutiny, and then we've gone there, and then we've had them into the Sugar House. So that was a great
awesome.
experience.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool, being in Chicago, just because there's already like a great Detroit, Chicago, synergy there, and a lot of people in Chicago originally from Detroit.
Yeah.
So it was great for them to come out and represent, as well as introduce the bar to a new audience.
And it's nice because the communities are so great in all these cities for them to kind of cross-pollinate and shift. We've had some bartenders come over from Chicago into the Detroit area and kind of make Detroit their new home. I'm sure we've definitely had the vice versa. I know Kat just went over to Chicago to do her sommelier work over there. So it's just kind of a nice little crossbreeding.
It's just everybody kind of everyone learns a little something from someone else.
Right.
It's always a lot of fun.
So first time in Detroit.
First time in Detroit, yes.
All right, get off the plane. Did you do Delta?
Yeah, flew Delta.
All right, so that helps.
A direct flight to San Diego, that was really nice. Saves a lot of time.
And so you're definitely seeing this beautiful new airport that we have. You start driving around. Give me kind of your first expectations of Detroit. What did you see?
Sure, I've had a blast so far. I don't know. I thought it's been really cool. A lot of the places seem all very like revitalized. It seems like there's a lot of attention put into maintain the integrity of the original space, which I think is really cool.
Sure.
Rather than just like, I feel like on the West Coast of California, we just tear everything down and build something new. So it's nice to see, just like a little bit of a love and attention being put into like the existing buildings.
Well, and the other thing with especially with Southern California is you guys really spread out, just like Detroit.
Yeah.
So we're not like a tight city. We definitely sprawl into all corners of everywhere. So
there's definitely neighborhoods which have like distinct personalities, which
exactly.
I thought was really cool as well.
Yes. I was actually in San Diego. Oh goodness, it was right around New Year's ish, and I checked out George's at the Cove.
George's Cove, great spot. Yeah.
Stephen, right?
Yeah. Stefan.
Yeah. He was actually just transitioning over to be president of the guild.
Yeah, he's been doing a killer job with it too.
Yeah, and I think he just left.
Just took over a new spot.
Yep.
Yeah. He's taken over 100 Proof, which is cool because it's closer to my neighborhood.
Very cool.
So I can see him more often.
Oh, that's great. I'm trying to think where else we went out there. I know when I was in LA, I went to Old Lightning, which is killer.
Which is awesome. Yeah, that place is badass.
And that has a loose association with Willis, right?
It does. I don't know exactly what the ownership structure is, but I know that Steve and Patrick come from that world out there.
So Willis is a new bar we have in Detroit.
Yeah, I heard of it. It's Dave's involved with it. Did some of the
he has a toe in it.
Yeah.
That is a kind of it's a show bar, and to my knowledge, it is the only bar that has a full uniform for the bartenders, and they are like, oh god, I'm trying to think of the bartender from The Shining, Hal. Oh, anyway, but it reminds me of that. Not the creepiness, but the spiffiness and the polish. And it's a great bar. And when you check out Old Lightning, Old Lightning, you just drool over all of the spirits that they have there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then you come to this beautiful experience at Willis. It's great.
I need to get out there. I only visited San Diego once. It was a very long time ago in the spring break college days, and we went. My buddy was stationed at I think it's a Marine base there, Camp Pendleton.
Big one, yeah.
And but we just stayed in Old Town and basically got really drunk the whole time. It was pretty great, but I didn't venture into the city proper, and I need to make another West Coast trip.
The beer scene alone is worth the trip.
Right.
It's the most awarded beer scene in the U.S.
Interesting.
And
Careful, those are fighting words in Michigan.
Hey, I mean, it's just a fact. It's a fact.
Nice.
It's I think right now is 157 breweries or something.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Like you're just walking down the street and you'll just stumble into a little place, and it's just like, I feel like a lot of times when you go in like, kind of a new brewery,
right,
you'll be, oh, cool, yeah, did their flight. A couple of the beers are pretty good. But I feel like in San Diego, since the scenes are so old, you're like, damn, their porter is really good and their lager is good.
Right,
and it's like, of course, San Diego, so everybody's looking for the IPAs, but they forget there's a lot more beer being made than just IPAs.
And I think last year was the first time since Prohibition that we passed the breweries we had before Prohibition.
Yeah.
So the number. So we're definitely
cool.
like back at our fighting strength of beer alcoholism, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you have a teeny tiny Instagram account you just started yesterday.
Called
Bartender at Large. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when we started Bartender at Large, originally the idea was for it to be a documentary. We were going to make a film, and we knew straight off the bat that we didn't have a budget to market it. So we were like, okay, cool. Well, we'll just as we film the documentary, we'll just start posting photos and stuff online to kind of let people know exactly what we're doing, what we're up to, where we're going to be headed off to. So it's kind of like allowed us to kind of get in touch with our audience, and then as that went, then we finished filming the movie. And kind of like, well, we have all these cameras and we have all the audio. We might as well just like get a podcast going. So initially, like most of the energy, it started out as a film, and although the film's done really well, kind of screened in over 35 cities around the world, blah blah, won a bunch of awards. It kind of evolved into the podcast becoming the priority.
Nice.
And then now we're I think like 115 episodes or something like
That's
that.
great. That's great.
Online. And yeah, if anybody out there wants to check it out, you can just go to bartenderatlarge.com and you'll find more information on it.
That's great. So
is the video there as well for people?
Yeah, you can click the link to buy the film as
cool.
well. And actually, it's free if you like, because you can get online. You name your own price, so you can pay $0 if you want, but you can pay more. Totally up to you.
So tell us how you go about kind of doing a documentary. Did you have a goal? Was it just to kind of cover cool people in the in the scene?
We had no idea what we were doing.
Okay.
We had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We filmed the entire movie with just 2 Canon T4Is, like these little cameras you can get for like $200 or $300 used. We filmed the entire documentary with just a team of 3 people. That's including me.
Okay.
So it was like, yeah, and we had all kinds of tricks that like add production value, which like move the cameras around to make it look like you got multiple angles.
Right.
If we saw if there was like another photographer or videographer like at an event, we would try to get them in the footage so it looks like we had another person in our crew. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. But it was cool. I think that the highlight of the documentary was like basically us being able to highlight and showcase what's going on in some of these cities across the U.S. that don't get a lot of press and don't get a lot of hype.
Sure. So tell me, which cities did you film in? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh man, it was mostly Western U.S., but like Boise, I would say was probably the most like surprising out of all of them. Yeah, because I feel like we don't really know much about it.
Yeah.
It's like potatoes. Yeah.
Right.
But it's like Boise's actually is the most isolated capital in the lower 48. I've learned since, and it's gorgeous. They have a great food scene, great cocktail scene, beer scene, everything across the board, and it's like kind of just hidden. Nobody really knows too much about it.
That's great. All right,
they're doing it on purpose though. Supposedly they don't want people to know what they have, that they have a little paradise.
Interesting. All right, so
and then here comes Bartender at Large.
Yeah. Cat's out of the bag, guys.
All right, so besides Boise, what other kind of unique spots did you find from that out there?
I like Tucson a lot. I thought Salt Lake City was super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Salt Lake City does not get the respect it deserves in regards to the cocktails.
Project X?
Bar X.
Bar X, yeah.
Which was a total blast.
Yep.
And everybody thinks like with all the laws and the draconian rules they have in regards to like mixing drinks and cocktails and stuff in Salt Lake City, that would hold it back. But if anything, it's one of those examples of how it just made them more creative.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Last time I was there, I remember like you couldn't have 2 drinks in front of you. Like you could only have 1 drink at a time, which I guess isn't that strange. Like you're really only drinking 1 drink at a time, but still like, no, you have to finish that before I can give you another one.
Yeah, exactly. It's super strange where it's like, I feel everywhere else we're kind of trained to like, oh, you offer another drink when they're like, 30, only 30% left. So it's like they're constantly have something in front of them. But it's like, yeah, you can't have a Boilermaker there. You can't have a beer and a shot.
Right, because it's 2 separate drinks.
Yeah.
Ah, neat.
So it is kind of weird. But one thing I thought that was really cool is that, you look at some of these cocktails like the Star Daisy and the Vieux Carré, and it's like the split base, right? In Salt Lake, you can't have more than 1.5 ounces of base spirit in a cocktail.
Okay.
Right? So, but you can add another spirit if it's considered a modifier, if the bottle has modifier on the side. So like a sticker, like you know, state mandated sticker. So if anything, it's made them very creative, and like a lot of their cocktails are all about split bases.
Okay.
So it's kind of like so they can get the full 2 ounces in there.
Right.
But you know, so it'll be like this cocktail will be like aged rum with Applejack, and the next one's like, you know, Scotch with, you know, whatever, what have you. And it's just it's kind of created an identity for the city, like a style that they're known for.
And I have to imagine you don't have like the cocktail police knocking on the door all the time.
No, I mean, yeah, they don't really know too much about what's going on because the people who write the rules have no idea what goes in a craft cocktail. Yeah. So I think for the most part, they kind of get largely left alone.
There was a beer limit too, wasn't there? An ABV on beer limit?
Yeah, but it only applies to beers on tap.
Very interesting.
So you can still buy, you know, like a barley wine that's 12% alcohol, but it has to be in a bottle.
In a bottle. Huh. All right. So you enjoyed this movie and you said, all right, we're gonna keep this momentum going, do a podcast.
Yeah.
Talk about the transition to that.
Well, the idea being that we're like, oh, cool. Well, we'll start this podcast and we'll just kind of keep it going. And, you know, and then from that, we'll like kind of just keep the word out about the movie, and the podcast will promote the film. And while that worked, you know, eventually we just like, shit, the podcast is like kind of taking on a life of its own. Let's just keep it going. So even though the film was officially released for purchase last October, online, we kind of just kept the podcast going and it's just kind of taking on a life of its own.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, because it seems like it would give you an opportunity to dive into more of those things that you've seen over the, you know, you come through a town for the video, and you get to see a lot of great things, but it would seem like you get to, again, like, really dive into some of those things and explore them a little bit further.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's so much fun. Yeah, I really enjoy it because I feel like it's kind of, you know, allows you to meet some really cool people, you know.
So tell me the
gentlemen
year.
like you guys.
Oh, yeah, we're okay.
Know.
We're fine. So tell me the year you did the movie.
What was that?
What year did you do the movie?
We filmed it all in 2016.
Okay.
It took us about a year to put together.
Okay, so I mean, recent-ish. Not so much to the fact that you're like going back and you're like, oh, craft cocktails weren't a thing yet.
Yeah.
But like, it's very much okay. People are pretty established. They got their flow. How long have you been bartending personally?
Shit, maybe about 18 years or something.
Okay, so
17 years. Yeah.
You've definitely seen kind of the transition from like club cocktails to craft cocktails.
Oh yeah. If you would have told me, you know, like 10 years ago that you could have a Negroni at the movie theater, or, you know, have a Sazerac while you're watching, you know, like the latest, like, you know, Tom Cruise movie or something, I would have thought you were crazy. And now that's the reality that we live in, you know, which is why I feel like, you know, the stereotype of like the grouchy mixologist and stuff is just like it's expired. You know, that time's gone, because now there's so many places to get a good drink. Like, no, you don't need. I don't need this attitude. Yeah.
The movies I think are a great example, because I definitely remember seeing movies out of college being like, I just want a drink. I don't want a soda. I don't want any of this. I want a drink. Why is it so hard to put a bar in here?
Yeah.
And I think it just kind of started popping up, you know, kind of early 2000s. And then, that definitely got hold. And now I don't think you'd open a theater without a bar.
No. I wouldn't even go. I haven't even been to like the conventional old school movie theater that doesn't have a bar in maybe like 2 years.
Okay.
Like, now I only go to the movie theaters, like, you know, go with my wife. My wife has an IPA, and I'll have a cocktail, and we just enjoy the film like adults, you know?
Yeah. All right, so you go to a movie, and let's say it's not the caliber of bartender you're looking for, or maybe any general bar. What is your go-to for maybe a more mass market bar? Like when you want a cocktail, but you're like, I don't know their skills. What do you go after?
I'll probably order a beer.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing they can't mess up, you know what I mean? Or even then, it's like, you know, having something just like a whiskey on the rocks or something, you know, they can't mess that up.
Sure.
Because I still feel like even though programs across the board have gotten better, there are still individual bartenders who you know, aren't going to be able to deliver. So, you know, but I feel like with each year that passes, each day that passes, really the number of bartenders just goes down that can't make a good drink. Now it's crazy. Yeah, you go to some of these chain restaurants and stuff. Actually, a lot of the consulting that I do on the side is for like some of these big national chains, and it's really cool being able to like, you know, blow their minds with something really simple.
Right. And again, it tends to be really little simple stuff that can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
I know, Jason, we went to Black Panther together. When you go to a movie theater, what is your go-to order?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I go to the movie theater, I generally go to the drive-in because I can take my own. And
are you serious?
The movie, to
That's
me,
great.
Me personally, I'm not high on movies the last couple years. I did see Dunkirk. That was one I enjoyed at the IMAX. But, I don't know. For me personally, the type of movies I like, I don't really really find them at the movies. So yeah, we're still in Detroit. Fortunate to have the Ford, Wyoming. It's one of the original drive-ins in the country.
The Big Sean Theater's coming though.
Oh, well. There's I don't think, that's great. I support that project, but they'll never be able to recreate the feeling of like going into an original vintage 50s, drive-in movie theater. And it's, whether you're with your girlfriend on a date or with, a group of people, and you go there and it's just like a beautiful summer night. They do double features till late. The concession place is just super retro, and it's just a good, it's a good experience there. So that's usually my trick, because then you're just loaded up. Like, you got pillows, you've got your own alcohol and whatever else you want. But
you got the bench seat in the front of the car so you can snuggle together?
That's what the pillars are for. So
okay.
I don't have the bench seat.
You haven't been to a drive-in in forever.
I don't know if I've ever been.
I have to have pay an Uber or Lyft driver for like a 2-hour rate to just park with me and watch a movie.
So you don't have a car?
Yeah, I don't have a car.
So fantastic. So you're surviving in San Diego without a car.
Yeah.
How bad is your commute from your house or your apartment to your bar?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. I find it just, if anything, it kind of just keeps me in my neighborhood. I like just don't really leave North Park. But we have a new spot. I opened up a new place in April called Raised by Wolves in La Jolla, and then that actually, I'm actually starting to debate whether I should buy a car, because at that point, I'm taking like Ubers and Lyfts all week. I'm like, it's just starting to wear on me. Like, okay, cool. This might not be feasible without a car.
So if you're in La Jolla, you're going to need at least a Porsche then, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Hopefully one day. One day we'll see.
All right, so tell us about the new bar. What's kind of the theory there?
Oh, my God. I'm so excited about this place. Raised by Wolves, it's a new spot. There's really not much like it in California, because it's a retail space with a bar.
Nice. Very cool. So it's a bottle shop.
Yeah, full boutique bottle shop up front, and then there's a massive cocktail bar in the back. And it's like, the bar itself is, I think, about 2,800, maybe 3,000 square feet.
Wow. So
it's a good-sized bar. And it was really cool, because, and it's in a mall. It's in the La Jolla Westfield UTC.
Okay.
Which is like kind of like the most postmodern thing I can think of, like proper craft cocktails in a mall.
But you have an outside door then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the mall's going to close like when you want to start going.
Mall, it is San Diego. But it's crazy. It's one of those like really
outdoor
bougie
mall.
malls.
Okay.
So there's like no Foot Locker. There's no Charlotte Russe. It's like you can go buy a Tesla at the mall. The Apple Store. It's all really high end stuff.
Nice.
John Barbados, all that. And it's a really interesting place, because it's not really, that little area doesn't really have a culture with craft cocktails. So it's so we weren't sure how it was going to play out at first. It's like, what's everybody going looking for? What do they want? But if anything, if we pretty much sell, it's like 95% menu cocktails.
And you're open now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So come time Christmas, you're probably going to be slammed.
It's already slammed. So and we've actually heard that in that area. Holiday season starts in like early October.
Okay.
Is when it really picks up. So yeah, we're pretty excited for it. We need to hire a lot more people.
Well, and so that's something great to talk about. So we were very lucky to have a Miracle Bar this year at Skip, and they were slammed all the time.
Yeah.
So as a bar manager, what do you do when you get that huge volume? Is it just people?
Actually, yeah. I'm actually glad you brought that up, because Polite Provisions is also my other bar in San Diego is also doing a Miracle. We did it last year, and we're doing it again this year, and we're just starting to gear up for it. Yeah, we're starting to gear up for it, and it's like, we're actually thinking about, okay, like we need to bring on seasonal help. It's really weird to bring on. So if anything, we've just reached out to like bartenders that used to work for us that are like kind of, no longer there anymore. We're like, hey, would you be interested in doing like 2 days a week?
Yeah.
Just for maybe about 5 weeks, and you'll make a bunch of money. You're going to get your ass kicked. But, then afterwards, we don't have to feel bad about letting them go.
Right.
It's like come January, we don't have to worry about, we're staffed. And it is crazy. It's so much fun.
Cool.
And another thing that we realized from doing it the first year was like the amount of time you think it's going to take to decorate it, the number of man hours, like triple it, because it is so much more intensive than you might think.
Because they're giving you merch, but they're not giving you decorations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Skips looked beautiful. I remember that train they had in there that was really neat. I think beyond decorations though, it can't just be staff. There has to be prep and layout and like what else do you look at to like get drinks out faster?
Oh man, like really, the nice thing is like, it's only just, I think like 10 drinks. So those, we learned real quick, you just have to batch everything.
All batched. Got it.
Pretty much everything has to be batched. And like normally, like that's not something we would ever do. But for this, you're just like, shit, we're just going to get rocked for like 13 hours today, you know, and you just know it because on the weekends we're open 11:30 to 2 a.m. and we're just like, we're going to get pummeled from the second the doors open until we close.
So I feel like that's something interesting to talk about is kind of the rise of, so we have some canned cocktails in the studio, the rise of kind of some of the batched, kegged cocktails. We have a couple bars that are exclusive in Detroit that are batched cocktails. And you bring up this kind of apprehension because as a bartender, you put all this money into a keg, and if you don't sell it, you lose money because you can't unmix it. So what have you noticed about like kegged cocktails?
Is it just that, or is it? I mean, do you think that there's a penalty on the perception of
that too.
when you're putting something in a container like that?
Yeah, I think so. Because at Polite, we're actually all three of my spots. We have like expansive draft cocktail programs at all of them. And what I think a lot of times people they don't understand is like there's just as much craft and attention to detail going into the entire keg as there would be if we were making it all a menu. It's just a lot of these things you couldn't make them all a menu. Like it wouldn't be feasible.
Sure.
Yeah, because we have some draft highballs that are essentially just like, you know, our house-made sodas with spiked with alcohol, and you know we carbonate those for 3 days before they ever go on tap. So it's like try to make that on the spot would just be like ridiculous.
All right. Talk about the carbonation for 3 days. Is that it takes that long to absorb the carbonation?
No, but we find that the fizz is best after 3 days.
That's awesome.
Like we let it. We actually have these little stations that aren't even hooked up to any. They're in the keg room in the walk-in. They're actually not even hooked up to any taps. We just like once they're finished making them, we hook them up for 3 days and they just sit there and just charge.
That's cool.
So they get cold and get real fizzy. I mean, there's ways to do it faster, but this is just like, you know, we have the station specifically for that. You just hook it up and then let it get charged with CO2.
Yeah, I think keg cocktails are great, especially for big events and parties when you're moving stuff. Oh my gosh, it's the only way to go.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, I think. Well, you've got like the standbys, obviously doing like they do the
Deluxe
snake
Flux.
in the grass.
They're all.
Oh, that place is great.
Yeah.
I had dinner there the other night.
Yeah.
Even at the Sugar House. I mean, you know, I think there's a good trade-off where you can say to somebody, here's, you know, all of our drinks, but we also have a draft old fashioned. We stand behind. It's one of the best old fashions in the city. But because we've taken the time to put it in the batch, you know, and because of how quickly we can execute it, then it's not as expensive, and there's like a good value for you as a consumer.
But I get what you're saying. If you're going there for the show, and granted, if it's slow and you can watch a bartender make a drink for 10 minutes, awesome. But if you're you're 3 people deep, the last thing is you want some guy to make like a Ramos Gin Fizz and just watch him shake for 5 minutes. You know, it's not possible.
Yeah. Plus, there's also a lot of times a lot of really cool like effect that you can get from draft cocktails that you couldn't get otherwise. Like for instance, at Polite, we have we have like a brandy milk punch on nitro.
Okay. On nitro, that's
which
cool.
is just super kick ass because I mean you have this like, you know, a little bit of cognac, some rum, and the texture on it is just like it's like a cloud, you know, just because like, you know, what the nitro it almost comes out, the texture is like of a Guinness.
Cool.
And it comes out, you're like, you couldn't make that all menu. It'd be ridiculous. You know, what are you gonna have like a little ISI chamber? We actually tried to do with that, and it was ridiculous. It just the texture wasn't as good as like something that's literally sitting on nitro for 3 days. You know,
nice.
So it's just the texture was so much better. And I think when people taste the cocktail and they realize, oh shit, like, you know, any qualms they might have had about something being on draft is like it evaporates.
The first cocktail competition I was in. And I've only done like 6. I tried to carbonate a cocktail in like 5 minutes. It was a disaster.
Yeah,
I did not get it done in time, and I lost heartily in that.
I could see that. Yeah.
How much time? Because I mean, you know, obviously you're just doing that for a competition. You probably didn't spend too much time on research and development into putting it out there. Versus, you know, how much time do you guys spend on average? You know, playing around with those things, figuring out like 3 days is the right amount for the soda carbonation, or you know how to execute on that.
Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. We pretty much have it down now. You know, going in like especially with Polite going into 6th year now.
Wow, congrats!
Yeah, thank you. We pretty much have it down, but yeah, the early stages we were just tweaking everything. Like, oh, let's change this. Let's kick up a little bit of citric acid. Let's pull back. Like yeah. Let's see. Is it different if we fill the keg to the top and if we pull it back a little bit? You know, just all those variables. There's a million variables. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
There it is. That's the system.
I mean, you could write.
That made it easier to open up the second and the third one, right?
Oh yeah, way easier. And then now it's like I feel like we've gotten a lot more experimental with it. Just even you know at Raised by Wolves we have this like Irish whiskey with horchata. like house horchata on tap, that's just like a fucking banger. It just sells, you know, and it's just nice to be able to kind of just offer that, you know.
I want one.
Have that opportunity. It's
so
pretty cool.
So besides kind of learning from bartenders, do you recommend a good source for maybe learning how to keg? I know Liquid Intelligence has a little bit on it.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's written a keg book, to my knowledge.
No, I don't think anyone has. You know, we've been approached about it in the past. And it's kind of something we've toyed around with it. You never know what could happen.
It's out there.
Yeah, you never know. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it is, and plus a lot of the sources I see online are just untrustworthy. You know, they'll talk about something, or sometimes they're worst case scenario. I've even seen people advocate things that are dangerous. They're like, oh yeah, we charge we keep our highball like at 70% or 70 psi, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, dude, you cannot leave something like that, just sitting around. It's like you tell that to one of your brewer friends, and they're just gonna have a heart attack.
Right.
Like, wait, what? It's just left in there like that, So yeah, you obviously don't want to crank psi to a point where it becomes unsafe. So it's important that I'd say the best resource would be is ask a local home brewer or a brewmaster or something, ask them for a little bit of advice, and they'll be able to help you out.
I think just if you had your PSI that high, you just open your keg fridge one day and just like a flood would come out.
Oh, I knew this guy who's told me they were keeping it. They cranked it to 90 psi, and I was like, what? Like. They're like, oh yeah, it's fine. I was like, that's not safe, man. Like, especially if your walk-in's really cold, then the pressure gets, it's insane.
Because, and again, what I do is typically I carbonate to around 25, 30, and then it dispense around 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty close to what we do around. And I guarantee you're probably having a lot of luck with that.
Decent luck. Yeah. I have a leak in my system, so I got to find that still.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm
down to a slow leak, but it's still a leak.
I ran into a guy at Tales of the Cocktail a couple years ago, and I don't know whatever happened because it was a kind of a fuzzy conversation, but his idea was a good one in terms of batch cocktails. They were going to go and do all the festivals around the country and just hit it with batch cocktails, but like really good. I don't know whatever happened to that guy.
Oh, yeah. I have a friend of mine who does that. He owns a company. They do stuff for like Coachella and stuff. And they do everything from scratch, and it's insane just the production that goes in that. Because obviously they're making cocktails for the entire park, but more for like the VIP areas. Yeah. And the beauty is that all the skill level and all the talent is in the prep. So he has like really good bartenders, doing juice and making syrups and kegging the cocktails. But the people who are dispensing them, just like they can be any Joe, any random any
you can pull a handle
bartender. Yeah, and they're just like, here, fill this up, squeeze a lime on top. Can you do that? Yep. So it's like you see this like in these like thousands of people just like getting hammered in the sun, drinking like really premium cocktails, listening to live music, and you're like, yeah. Again, if someone told me this 10 years ago that concert goers would be drinking like really well made craft cocktails, I would have thought you were crazy.
Well, let me ask you this because I'm curious about this. So you said you've been bartending for 18 years, and so
probably about 16, 17.
16, 17.
Yeah.
But before the last 10 years, I mean, that entire time, were you making Negronis and classic?
Oh fuck no.
So right. No. So I'm trying to like there's
I used to work at a chain restaurant, man.
So,
I worked at a chain restaurant for 7 years.
Because that was like the only option, right?
Yeah.
For them, or like
there was no such thing as a career bartender wasn't even a turn of phrase that anybody would use in that era.
So that's kind of what I want to probe just a little bit because we're talking about, you're just saying, this guy, they're going to Coachella and they've got good bartenders. And so a good bartender is one that's doing all the right things, using all the right ingredients, using the right techniques. What did a good bartender look like 16 years ago?
I would say it hasn't really changed that much, because the basic fundamental skills that go into bartending are essentially really unchanged. The level of the caliber of cocktail you're expected to create now is different, has changed, but everything else is the same. Like that's why I feel like sometimes I'll hear like a snarky comment from somebody like, oh, I put out an ad online to get some people to apply, and it's like all I got was a bunch of guys from like Chili's and Fridays and stuff. I'm like, are you serious? Like, interview them. Like, they might be really good. Because sometimes I find that with a lot of these chains, myself having worked for chains for 7 years, like, they know how to run a clean bar. They know how to like multitask. They know how to ring in orders without messing them up. They know how to tend to people's needs, take care of them, do
probably good with loss.
Yeah, good with loss. Yeah. They're good at like just systems because it's in a big system. Yeah, essentially they know how to do 95% of bartending. And even the cocktails they make, that they're not that don't taste that good. I mean, they still know how to jigger and how to shake and how to stir it, everything accurately. So All you have to do is just show them. Yeah, all you have to do is just okay, this is fresh juice, this is fresh lime, this is fresh pineapple. I'm gonna show you what green chartreuse is, and the difference between Navy strength and blah blah blah, and they'll figure it out. So I've had really good luck with hiring chain bartenders.
What can't be taught to a bartender?
To care.
To care. You just ambivalence.
Yeah. Like I can't in 4 weeks of training, I can't teach you what your parents failed to teach you in 18 years. It's impossible. Things like just character, just caring, having a good work ethic.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't teach that. So that's why it's more important to find motivated people, and if they're motivated to learn, they'll be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like in Detroit, probably more in the bigger metros, but kind of coming to Detroit, is we are starting to leave this very high craft cocktail concept and transitioning more into somewhere between like a yes bar and a little more relaxed concept, where you're still getting a delicious, well-made drink, but you are dropping the arm garters and the pretentiousness. What are you seeing kind of as you travel? Are people still kind of doing that high concept craft, or is there more of a relaxed nature happening?
I think it's a mix. I feel like as the audience is getting wider, people are...
Wider or whiter?
No, sorry, wider.
Wider,
yeah. Sorry, wider. Yeah, with a D. As the as cocktails are getting more and more mainstream, people are wanting different things from each experience.
Okay.
Where it's like before, it's like the only experience you could get was like the arm garters in the vest and all that, which is great, But now it's like you said, now you can get a good cocktail to movies, at the movie theater. So I definitely think it's like now there's just a wider spectrum of what's available, and I think people are finally starting to kind of get it through their heads that you can't get everything everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't go to like a Thai restaurant and ask for pizza, or like a southern place, good southern fried chicken place, and order like spaghetti.
Yeah, I mean my feeling from being at the Sugar House and starting at the Sugar House is exactly that. Like the idea of the Prohibition bar was more of a way to deal with the guests' sort of like cognitive dissonance with being told no.
Yeah.
Like you come into Sugar House when it opened 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago, and there was a reason when you tell people no, you can't have
a vodka soda
bomb or some of these other things, and then it's like, but the reason why you can't is because we're doing this, and there's and it's like, and then it makes sense because they can say, okay, it's a Prohibition era speakeasy, and that's the concept.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes a little bit more sense to me why they're telling me no. And then once they get comfortable with it, and then it's like a education over time, like you said, once more people understand what's going on, you didn't need that link anymore to talk to people about it. They just got it.
Yeah, now there's places that are like a legit just blend of of anything you could think of. Like there's this really great bar in LA called Honeycut. It's almost like it's like a nightclub that has cocktails. Cool. And you can go in there and be like, yeah, I'll take a vodka Red Bull, 2 Sazeracs and a Southside, and then the bartender just cranks them out. And it's just like, but there's nothing about it that at no point do they ever make you feel like
you're an idiot.
This is novelty. Yeah. They're just like, oh yeah, here you go. You order 3 or 4 cocktails. Here you go, man. Of course it's LA, so it's like $60 or something right. for those 4 drinks. But but either way, like people are getting they're having fun.
Yeah.
They're partying. They're in a great venue. They're listening to loud music and then doing whatever they want to do. So I think we're finally at that point now where we don't have to prove what we're not, but we're more comfortable with what we are.
Do you think there's room for more specialty bars, be it rum, agave, things like that?
Definitely. I think we're only scratching like the tip of the iceberg in regards to like rum. And especially, you named 2 good ones like rum and agave, cognac as well too. I don't know if we're ready for more like cognac designated bars, but I do think brandy as a whole is underappreciated with the modern bartender.
Well, with Pisco and Armagnac and all that, you could go pretty wide with that. That's interesting.
Definitely, yeah.
We are getting our first agave bar next year. I don't know when Toma's supposed to open,
that's
but
awesome.
I'm super geeked about that. What have you seen? So maybe as again, if you've traveled. Is there any bar that's really focused on something hardcore that maybe would be too niche for something you to do, but they're just killing it? Like something that's so specific, like they only make, whiskey sours, and they just make the best whiskey sour ever. Yeah. Anyone doing that?
I would say, there's a few spots
like
I can
tiki.
think of off the top of my head. Yeah, there's some really great tiki bars right now. Obviously like the the tiki renaissance has fully caught up, you know, with the craft cocktail renaissance going on. You have a place like Lost Lake, you know, I mean, sure, you know, if you order a Sazerac or a Manhattan, they'll make it for you, but that's kind of not the point of it. You know, you go in there, just get something like really wild that's like super ornate and garnished and just beautiful. Amorio Margot is another example I love.
Billy
where
Sunday,
it's like, yeah, like, you know, a bar like that's so small, it really...
I was surprised how small that bar was when I went there.
You know, but if that place was 3,000 square feet, like the concept wouldn't work, you know, but the fact that it's so small, you can have a really, really niche program in something like that. Yeah, there's just a lot of examples out there. Oh, the Milk Room in Chicago.
Yes.
Which is amazing, you know.
Just give them your credit card when you walk in, because it's going to be $1,000.
You know, Old Lightning in Santa Monica.
Yep.
Where it's these places that are just like, this is all we make, this is all we do. Like, if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else, but, you know, enjoy yourself.
Milk Room's wild. I was lucky enough to go with my corporate card. Yeah. And, I mean, when it's just like, this drink is $100, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I'm going to lose the itemized receipt, and I'm just going to submit it.
I don't think I submitted an itemized receipt. When is this going out? After October, hopefully?
Yeah, right.
Maybe not 100% topical.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, so now that you've explored a couple bars in Detroit, you're kind of getting a little bit of feel. What would be some advice for Detroit to kind of make the next step?
Oh, shit.
We submitted all these to your publicist that they didn't get
right.
to.
You know, I'm thinking you guys are doing everything right, man. I feel like maybe I think that the city might be ready for, like, I know everyone always knocks, like, you know, cocktail weeks. Oh, every city has a cocktail week now, but I think maybe just doing a really big event to, like, get everybody here to
like Detroit Cocktail Classic.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because this is actually the second year that we're working on something collectively. There will be its sort of a cocktail week in its infancy, but there was a Detroit Cocktail Classic. It was a one-day event on a Friday.
Oh, cool.
That had been going on for the last 4 or 5 years.
But that seems more, that's like consumer focused.
No. Well, yes and no. It's mixed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's
not tails.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I would say it's definitely more consumer focused. There are some seminars and trade things during the day, but at this point, I would say definitely a little bit more consumer focused.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
But this will be the second year that we've extended out for the whole week, and you know, a bunch of different bars are included, and brands, and there's the capstone event, and then, you know, a mixture of happy hours and spirited dinners and after parties every day throughout the week. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another way to let everybody know what you guys are doing out here.
That's a good segue. So myself, Cocktail Detroit, and Teak Life are all going to be covering the event live at the grand tasting. And then leading up to it, we're going to feature a bunch of drinks, because all the bartenders pair up with brands to make some cool drinks as well. But yeah, there's a whole list of events happening. One already sold out.
That's awesome. When is it?
First week in October. Yeah.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to get more information about this, where would they go?
Probably Facebook. The website's not great. If you go to Detroit Cocktail Classic on Facebook, that's my best guess. Sorry, Anthony.
He just released it all like yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. But otherwise, I'd say there isn't really much you guys have to change. This everywhere we went, we had incredible food, incredible drinks. You know, obviously we're going like the best in town because everybody sent us all the good spots. But you know, I haven't had a bad drink since I got here.
That's great.
You know,
what's what was it about? Like, when did Detroit kind of come on your radar, and when did you start thinking?
Probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I remember people first coming, like, they talking to me about it, like, oh man, have you been to Detroit yet? Oh man, you got to check it out. There's some really cool spots out there, blah, blah, blah. So it's like people have probably been telling me to come out here for about 2 years.
Okay.
And then, you know, then once enough people started to tell you, like, okay, cool, maybe I need to get out there. You know, I'm hearing some good things, so I need to get out there and check it out.
Like it. Cool.
Yeah.
Any, is there going to be a bartender at large too with the more East Coast focused?
Oh man, there's definitely something in the works. I can't announce just yet, but we've already started, you know, kind of preliminary planning and stuff on it. So follow us on Instagram at Bartender at Large on Instagram, and then, you know, you can kind of stay keep abreast of what we're working on.
All right. So having a sizable Instagram following,
yes.
Do you get approached by brands, by agencies? Like,
yeah, we generally just ignore them.
Oh, you just ignore them? Okay.
Yeah, we don't. It's funny because, like, it kind of started as, like, our Instagram, we really don't pay as much attention to it. We only really started paying more attention to it over the last few months. You know, because, like, yeah, but we don't really, like, sell ads or do anything like that, just because, like, I feel like that's another job, and it's like,
Totally
shit,
is.
I have enough jobs. I don't need to deal with it.
Well, you watch Apartment Bartender.
definitely another
hustling
job.
super hard.
Yeah, that dude's awesome, man. We actually had him on the podcast.
Elliot. Yeah.
We had him on the podcast a few weeks back.
Nice,
yeah,
nice,
he's a
nice.
great dude. Yeah. So I do. Yeah, I am kind of inspired by him. I'm like, oh man, maybe we should like start
Start a shirt company or all this stuff, right?
Because we already have merch and stuff. We just don't really pay attention to it.
Nice.
But luckily, my wife, who's essentially my business partner as well, she's kind of like over the last maybe since like April, she's kind of really started put more focus on it, and she's like, we need to get more merch. We need to get like pins and really cool shit. And I'm like, okay.
All right, so that's an interesting segue. So my wife also does help me with some of this stuff. Where was that transition from whatever job she was doing to like, damn it, I'll help you? Like, where was that?
Yeah, right when we filmed the documentary. 'Cause
Okay,
that's when
got
she
it.
actually quit her other job, and she was, helped. She was a producer for the film and kind of helped, keep everything on track.
And
So
was
ever
she
since
in the
then-
industry, like the film industry?
Yeah. No, bartending industry. Yeah,
Okay,
she
got
has no
it.
film
Okay.
background. None of us have any film background at all. We had no idea what we were doing. But yeah, my wife, she's bartended, worked in restaurants, hospitality for a long time, and so she kind of just hopped in, and then she gets a kick out of it. She likes doing it.
That's cool.
And she's like my full partner in everything we do. So, yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And how did you go about recruiting like people to film and things like that? Were you just like finding a friend, like, dude, here's how to
actually,
work a camera?
One of our I'm actually really glad you asked. One of our bartenders at Polite Provisions, he had just graduated from film.
Yes. Oh, that's lucky.
In film
Yeah.
from San Diego State, and he was like, "Oh, let's do something." We're like, "Cool, let's do it." So we kind of went out on the road with him, and then the editor of our movie used to be a bartender as well
Okay.
at this really good place in San Diego called Lion Share. Great restaurant and cocktails. And then so I felt like everybody who's really involved with the film, it's like all of us were bartenders. So it's like it was nice to have a bartender editing or an ex-bartender editing the film because he like knew where to cut and where the action was and stuff.
Right.
So it did make it a lot easier. So it's essentially the entire film was like kind of by bartenders for bartenders. Really there was only one other guy who kind of helped clean up the color and stuff at the end, and touch up the sound. That wasn't a bartender, but I'm sure you could still make a decent cocktail. So that might be close enough.
So talk about the event one more time in Detroit. So you're going to be doing this tonight. We're not going to be going live, so
Yeah.
we're probably going to have to do a little bit of a recap. But kind of as you come into this, your thoughts and goals for doing this event tonight.
Yeah, just to hang out with everybody, man. So I'm only behind the bar from 8 to midnight. I specifically asked Julie. I was like, well, I want to be off at midnight so we can go hit a dive bar afterwards. I don't want to be stuck all night. I want to be able to go have a beer with everyone after. So yeah, so just making cocktails. Yeah, man, I'm having a blast, man. I'm out here with I'm also a partner in a distillery called AZ Distilling.
Oh.
So I'm gonna be using our gin, our vodka, and our bourbon for cocktails tonight. So it's just a way for me to hang out with everyone, man. Have fun. Kind of the last few days I feel like I've been going to their bars and having a cocktail made by them. And now they can have a cocktail made by me.
Is AZ in our liquor book?
Should be.
Okay, we'll say that. Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
It
Oh
is.
yeah,
Yes,
it is
it
available
totally
here
is.
in Detroit.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I forget who the distributor is, but yeah.
Okay, good. So you mentioned kind of getting a drink after your shift. We're I don't think Detroit necessarily has that super late night crowd. Maybe kind of what do you look for? You finished a shift, it's 2 a.m. What do you want? Are you like, I just need a glass of water? Or like, damn it, I need a beer? Like, what is that end process?
Yeah, generally, like the now it's nice because I write the schedule, so I rarely have to close. Now when I do bartend, I have like the we call like the Hollywood shift where it's like, all right, I'm 4 to 6 guys, or not 4 to 6. No, I'm sorry, no, it's a 46-hour shift. So you'll go from like 4 to 10 or 4 to midnight.
Okay. Yeah.
So you kind of just like. And it's nice because no one else wants that shift generally.
That's like
because they're like,
shift.
4 to 6 would be great. Yeah. No, yeah. So it's like a 4 to 6, sometimes 8-hour shift. Okay. But it's like none of the other staff really wants it because they want to stick around longer, and make more money.
Got it.
So it's like kind of hop on at 4, off at 10. Kind of just break everybody.
Okay.
And I'm out. So yeah, those are the when you're the owner, you can do those. Plus, I think it's important for the owners of the bars to still get back there and do a shift periodically, just because. You get more honest feedback from clientele when they think you're an hourly employee rather than an owner. When it's like they find out you're the owner or even the general manager or anything, they're like, "Oh, everything's wonderful. Oh man, everything's so great." And it's like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to butter you up or something. But when they think you're an hourly, that's when they start giving you real feedback. You start to see, what exactly people are liking or not. They'll come in, just to let you know that you guys are out of toilet paper in both stalls. And you're like, oh, okay. all right. And in your mind, like, okay, cool. Maybe the hosts need to work on the running
Right,
side of
right,
work.
right, right, right.
So it's like it allows you to be a little more engaged, you know.
We're getting engineer Dave over here shaking his head because he owns a bar, and he's just like, yeah, maybe I should do some bartending.
I do.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have to get it. This is both in Oxford and Warren.
Yep.
Okay.
And in fact, then we're opening here this week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, down there is it
Yeah.
that little corner?
Kegerator's up and running. We're good to go. Yeah.
Give us a little shout out to your place now that I've asked you to talk.
Falling on Beer Company.
Nice, good stuff.
What's your PSI?
I know.
Just kidding.
Not a clue.
Yeah. It's called delegating, man. I'm just kidding.
There's a specialist that can run that. Good stuff. Yeah. So the couple times I did bartend and you get done at like 2 a.m., you'd be like, or 3. I think, yeah, it's just something that you don't want to think about it. You're like, I want a beer. I don't want to mix anything. I don't want to think about it. I just want to sit, relax, and drink something that was delicious and made for me.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes, yeah, after a long shift, because you've been like straw tasting it and kind of just engaged, you've had your palate engaged for the last, 8 to 10 hours, sometimes more if you're like, New York or something doing these 12-hour shifts, but you want to complete disengage. So I feel like something like a Pilsner or a lager is like definitely in order. And something that's just like essentially just watery. Sure. To kind of just rinse your palate and like help you reset.
Do you straw test everything?
No. But I mean, just sometimes you're making something like, you make a Caipirinha or you're making a bourbon smash. Like you have to straw taste those, So, as you're going or if you're like, coming up with a riff on something for somebody, I just feel like your palate, you start to get that fatigue. Yeah. So it's like, when you're off, you don't want like a complex like Bordeaux or like, something that you think about too much. You kind of just want something to kind of just reset. Right. That's why I've noticed, like, I remember when I used to work at Rick House in San Francisco, we used to have all these chefs that would come in and from across the street and, the restaurants nearby, and they would always have a vodka soda. They would always just order a vodka soda and then slam it, and then they would order, like, a proper cocktail afterwards. And they would just always do that. And I remember asking them, like, one time, because this was, like, in the era when, like, everybody was, like, knocking vodka sodas and stuff all the time. And, they would actually, like, throw back a vodka soda and then, like, order penicillin. Sometimes they'd order both at the same time, And I was like, hey, what's the scoop on that? Why do you always do a vodka soda first? And they're like, well, it's like, we're in the kitchen, man. We're just tasting things for the last 10 hours. And it's like, my palate's blown, man. So it's like vodka, like, is just a solvent. It just, like, rinses everything off of my mouth. It rinses everything off of my tongue. And then now I can, like, move on to, like, a penicillin or, a Southside or something else of that nature. But that first drink is just a reset.
I love that.
I was like, shit, that's actually a good call, man. That makes total sense.
So we had Chef Mark, who used to be at Wolfgang's, and he gave us a great Wolfgang story. Do you have a good celebrity story you can share us being in Southern California?
Shit, yeah. I remember the San Francisco Giants. Okay. I forget what year it was. It was like 2010 when they won the World Series. Like during the playoffs, they all came into Rick House one night. It might have been, 2009, 2010, one of those. They all came into Rick House. The entire team came in. And it was just like I remember they were like, oh, could we get some shots? And I think they wanted like some of the guys wanted just like shooters, just like something that's like mixed with juice. So I was like, no, you guys are having tequila. So and they was like, oh no, I don't want tequila. I was like, no, you guys are having tequila. It's on the house. Come on. And we poured shots for everybody. Like,
that's great.
Pretty much the entire front bar, everybody who was still there late night, and everybody did a big shot together. And it was great. And then they went on to win the World Series, and I like to think that tequila had a little something to do with it.
Very cool. That's good stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's hospitality. 100.
Yeah. What else we got to talk about? Whereas we wind down to the end of this episode.
Oh, and then another time I made a cocktail for Wayne from the Wonder Years, which was pretty cool.
Is that the friend or the older brother?
Kevin Arnold's. Kevin Arnold, yeah, it's his brother.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You made a cocktail for him. What was he interested in?
I think he just had like, I made it something just like an El Diablo or something real classic. But he's a real cool dude.
I love how you have a file somewhere stored in your memory of like what he was drinking. Names,
but I always remember what they were drinking. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Polite Provisions, Boilermaker, Raised by Wolves. Yeah. And anything next on the horizon that you want to tease us with?
Shoot. Well, yeah. I said we're working on another film project.
Nice.
Which I think is really the first place I've even announced it yet. But you'll hear more details coming of that soon. Cool. And we're actually going through all our meetings right now, working on now that we've made one, we realize all the mistakes we made and how we should do it different this next time around. So this next one's gonna be even better. Yeah, we're excited.
All right, amazing.
So people want to follow you. Where can they find
you? Just in Instagram. Hit me up on Instagram. My handle's Hungry Bartender. But bartender at large is just super easy. Bartender at large.
Cool.
And I'm easy to access from there. And if you ever message us, I always let anybody know if they ever have like any issues or problems behind the bar, just send us a question and we'll try to tackle them on the show.
Very good.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to the show after that Bartender at Large has been here in Detroit, please comment. Let us know how your experience was. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming to Detroit. We're super excited to see you. That's all we got.
Yeah,
Jason?
See you later tonight.
Yeah, see you later tonight.
It'll be exciting.
Jason, have a good week. We will be back with another show soon. And until next time, dine well, friends.
Not having the music throws me off.
What was that? What was that end time?
I stopped. Hold on.
Oh, that's fine. 50 minutes or so?
Damn, I had a lot of caffeine today. And it's like not really helping.
Well, your time change, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were in New York. That's why I was just like, oh, yeah, same time.
Yeah, no, it's like
How often do you travel back and forth then?
I'm generally in New York about every 6 weeks.
Perfect. Great. Okay.
About every 6 weeks I'm out in New York. But when the bar first opened, I was there for the first 9 months of doors opening. So it's like